How Did It End by Taylor Swift. As you can see, I'm sticking today with the Tortured Poets department. Today, How Did It End? I keep coming back to this album lately. The more I listen to it, the deeper I dive into the songs, the better it gets. Now, I think in this particular song, the specific relationship that she's talking about here is less important than it is in some of the other songs. Having said that, there are clear images in this song that refer back to other songs and so perhaps suggest which relationship she's actually talking about. But I won't go much into that today because, as I say, I don't think that's the focus of this song. I don't think it's the most important thing about this song. This is another fairly simple, straightforward piano ballad. Very simple musical arrangement, beautiful melody, great lyrics. But here it is, How Did It End by Taylor Swift. Those opening vocals, the oh in the background, kind of lend an ethereal quality to the song. Kinds of sets a kind of wistful, sad mood to the song, I think.
We hereby conduct this post-mortem. He was a hothouse flower to my outdoorsman. Our maladies were such we could not cure them, and so a touch that was my birthright became foreign.
The song opens with almost like a legalistic framework. We hereby conduct this post-mortem. The opening of a hearing. And I think the point of this song is, in fact, that with the end of this relationship, Taylor feels herself judged. She feels that this relationship and its ending is being judged in a kind of public court, a public hearing. So she begins by beginning to break down the causes for the failure of this relationship in this opening verse. He was a hothouse flower to my outdoorsman. So she's presenting a contrast between herself and the person with whom she was in this relationship. She describes him as a hothouse flower. A couple of things come to mind when I hear that expression. First of all, that he's kind of warm-blooded, if you like, tropical, fiery, all those sorts of images. But also that he's somewhat delicate, because a hothouse flower can't grow in the environment outside the hothouse. It's put in the hothouse because it needs special conditions in which to survive. So there's a certain delicacy about him as a person. And she describes herself as an outdoorsman. So something tougher, more rugged, slightly more natural about herself as she sees herself in this relationship anyway. Whatever afflicted this relationship, the maladies, became so bad that nothing could cure them. And so there's this shift in the relationship from something that she seemed to be born into, that then became something alien, something foreign to her. So there's a whole reversal in this relationship.
We hereby conduct this post-mortem. He was a hothouse flower to my outdoorsman. Our maladies were such we could not cure them, and so a touch that was my birthright became foreign. Come one, come all, it's happening again. The empathetic hunger descends. We'll tell no one except all of our friends.
There's a definite shift in the scene that she's painting here. We began in that almost like a courtroom setting, but now this has kind of changed into almost like a fairground scene. Come one, come all, it's happening again. This has now kind of assumed theatrical dimensions. It's happening again, reflecting the fact that Taylor's been through many relationships and many relationships have ended. And look, people, come all, gather around, it's happening again. The empathetic hunger descends. Empathy suggests that you're getting inside the feelings of the other person, but here it's an empathetic hunger. So the desire to get inside the feelings of the other person is not in any way to help them or to support them. It's to feed this hunger. They're like emotional vampires. And of course, we'll tell no one, except all our friends, just between you and me.
It became foreign. Come one, come all. It's happening again. The empathetic hunger descends. We'll tell no one except all of our friends. We must know. How did it end?
We must know. How did it end? This insatiable hunger of the media, of Taylor's own fan base, they must know. It's almost as if they feel they have a right to know.
Except all of our friends, we must know. How did it end? We were blind to unforeseen circumstances. We learned the right steps to different dances and fell victim to interlopers' glances. Lost the game of chance, what are the chances?
We were blind to unforeseen circumstances. There's kind of a tautology here. Of course you're blind to unforeseen circumstances. We can't see what's coming. It's always unforeseen circumstances that are going to undo us. We plan carefully, but there's always something that's going to blindside us. We learn the right steps to different dances. Well, I think this echoes back to Loss of My Life, LOML, where dancing is one of the main images there. But here we can see how the split is beginning. They learned the right steps, but they were dancing different dances, fell victim to interlopers' glances. This is something Taylor always has to deal with in her life, of course, as does any celebrity, that people are always going to be watching. They're always watching, waiting to see what will happen. There's all these people who intrude on the relationship. When a celebrity has a relationship with someone, it's never just those two alone. Somehow the media becomes involved, the fan base become involved. Somehow they claim ownership of this relationship. And again, lost the game of chances. What are the chances? Well, I think the opening lines and last lines here are said ironically. We were blind to unforeseen circumstances and we lost the game of chance. Well, what are the chances? Well, high. That's why they are games of chance, I guess, because the chance of losing is high. So I think there's a sense of irony in these lines as well.
We were blind to unforeseen circumstances. We learned the right steps to different dances and fell victim to interlopers' glances. Lost the game of chance, what are the chances? Soon they'll go home to their husbands, smug cause they know they can trust him, then feverishly calling their cousin.
The opening part of this verse has a kind of introspective sense. Taylor reflecting upon the relationship and how it ended, much as in the earlier kind of court scene. But here now we've moved back into the public circus. These people will go home to their husbands smug because they know they can trust him, smug in the security of their own relationships. And then feverishly calling their cousins, the gossip element again. They can't keep it to themselves. We won't tell anyone except, our friends, our cousins, our family, and so on. Feverishly calling their cousins. This is not just some dispassionate reporting of facts. This is a kind of schadenfreude. This is delight in someone else's downfall.
How did it end? Silenced as the soul was leaving, the deflation of our dreaming, leaving me bereft and reeling, my beloved ghost and me, sitting in a tree, D-Y-I-N-G.
Wow. We're back now to the introspective element of the song, where she's reflecting on the end of the relationship herself, the death rattle, the silence as the soul was leaving. Vivid descriptions of the death of the relationship, the death of the dream, leaving her bereft and reeling. And then this beautiful, poignant lyric, my beloved ghost and me, sitting in a tree, D-Y-I-N-G. This is a play on that playground nursery rhyme, where children are teasing other children, like sitting in a tree, K-I-S-S-I-N-G. Here we have my beloved ghost and me sitting in a tree, D-Y-I-N-G. The use of the word ghost here also reflects back, I think, to Loss of My Life, LOML. It's just such a powerful reworking of that kind of nursery rhyme image.
Say it once again with feeling, how the death rattle breathing, silenced as the soul was leaving, the deflation of our dreaming, leaving me bereft and reeling, my beloved ghost and me, sitting in a tree, D-Y-I-N-G. It's happening again. How did it end? I can't pretend like I understand. How did it end? Come one, come all. It's happening again. The empathetic hunger descends. Will tell no one except all of our friends, but I still don't know. How did it end?
Placing this song in the context of other songs on the album, it feels that this is at a slightly earlier stage after the breakup than some of the other songs, when she still hasn't really figured out what happened. I've spoken before about how she looks at all these relationships and the ends of these relationships from a whole lot of different angles, different perspectives. And this is another one of those. And here the focus is on the reaction of other people to what happens. There's two things going on in this song. The one is her analysis of the end of the relationship, of its death, of the differences that become apparent between them. They're dancing different dances. One of them is a hothouse flower, the other's an outdoorsman. So there's all of this analysis going on. But in the midst of this, and perhaps one of the things that makes it even more difficult, is the intrusion of the public on this. The media, her fans, maybe her family, everyone wanting to get in on this, everyone wanting to share the feelings being empathetic, but it's a kind of hunger. It's this emotional vampirism. There's the schadenfreude that people feel when something bad happens to someone else in this way. Of course, all of this happens even for a person who isn't as public as Taylor Swift is, whose relationships are not as public as hers. There are always going to be people around who want to get in. They want to get in on the story. They want to kind of feed on the experience, and they want to enjoy someone else's downfall, all the while pretending to be empathetic. So another great song on this album. I've been focusing very much on this album and neglecting some of her other work, and I'd be very interested if you wanted to recommend any other songs to me. Particularly, I realise I've been neglecting, I guess, Fearless, Red, and Lover for the most part. Particularly Fearless and Red. I don't think I've done any songs from either Fearless or Red at this stage. So if there's anything from those albums that you'd like me to have a look at, please let me know in the comments.